Hello everyone, and welcome to the Mat 211 review of matrix multiplication. My name is Julia and I work for the tutoring centers at ASU. So for today's problem, we want to compute the product of this matrix times this matrix. The first thing we should do is check to make sure that this is even possible by verifying that the inner dimensions of these two matrices match. And what I mean by inner dimensions is that the number of columns in the second matrix matches the number of rows, or excuse me, the number of columns in the first matrix matches the number of rows in the second matrix. So let's write this really quick. We have 3 times 2, our rows and columns for our first matrix, and we have 2 times 3 for our second matrix. So we can see that the number of columns in the first matrix matches the number of rows in the second matrix. So this is absolutely possible to do. So let's talk a little bit more about how we are going to go ahead and approach this. So when we do matrix multiplication, we're going to take the rows of the first columns and multiply them, or excuse me, the rows of the first matrix and multiply them by the columns of the second matrix. And we're going to do that for each of these rows and each of the columns. So since we know that this is a 3 by 2 matrix and this is a 2 by 3 matrix, the inner dimensions match, the result of this is going to be some matrix that is a 3 by 3 matrix, or the rows of the first matrix and the columns of the second matrix. So let's see how this is going to work, and we'll write this out so it's clear. So we'll start with our matrices. We've got 3, 1, 0, 2, 5, and 4 for our columns in our first matrix. And we've got 1, 0, 1, 2, and 0, 1 for our columns in our second matrix. And we're going to times these two. So when you see them kind of sitting next to each other like this, it just means we're multiplying them. So we're going to start by, well, first let's make a little matrix that's going to be our result. And actually, we'll go ahead and leave that open for now. And we know we're going to have 3 by 3 elements here. And so we'll go ahead and fill those in. So what I mean by that is we're going to start with the first row and the first column. And that first row and first column, we're going to multiply each of the elements, like the first element by the first element in this one. We're going to add that to the second element multiplied by the second element in the second column, or in the second matrix. So what that means, and all of that is going to be the first row and the first column of the resulting matrix. So it'll be this spot here. So what we see from that is that we have 3 times 1, so 3 times 1, our first two elements, plus 2 times 0. Let's write this out a little larger so we can see it. We'll just erase these for now. So we've got 3 times 1 plus 2 times 0. Again, 3 times 1 and 2 times 0. So now we have the element, now we have the element of the first column and first row calculated for our matrix. Now we're going to do that same thing with the remaining rows and columns. So we're going to take every combination of row and column. Let's clean this up a little bit too. Oops. Got 3, 2, and 5 here. That's a 5. All right, so now we are going to keep going with the first row for right now, and we're going to move on to the second column. So this will be the first row and the second column of our resulting matrix. So this spot here. And we'll do the same thing. We're going to multiply each element kind of in a row. So we'll have 3 times 1 plus 2 times 2. We'll do the same thing for the third column in the second matrix. We're going to have 3 times 0, so 3 times 0, plus 2 times 1. And so that's the first row of our resulting matrix. So we've multiplied our first row of our first matrix by every one of the 3 rows or 3 columns in our second matrix. Now, let's go ahead and do this the whole process again for the second row of our matrix. So we're going to be working our second row of our first matrix, that is. So again, we're going to multiply it by each of the columns, and that's going to give us each of the 3 slots in our second row of our resulting matrix. So let's go ahead and do this. We've got 1 times 1 plus 5 times 0. And that's our first element. So that's the second row and first column. So that will be the second row and the first column in our resulting matrix. Get rid of some of these arrows here. Just fill up with arrows otherwise. There we go. There we go. Oops. We wanted that one. So now we're going to move on to the second column of our second matrix, and this will give us the component for our second row and second column of our solution matrix. So this is going to be 1 times 1 plus, so that's 1 times 1 plus 5 times 2. And same thing for our third column. We'll have 1 times 0 plus 5 times 1. So that's 1 times 0 and 5 times 1. So let's clean these up a little bit before we go on to our third row. So we've got 3, 2, 1, 5, and 0, 4. I like to scribble all over my matrices and then you can't read them anymore. So we'll just fix that. And so we're going to have 1, 1, 0, 0, 2, and 1. All right, so let's move on to our third row here. Same process as before. We're going to start with the first column. That'll give us 0 times 1 plus 4 times 0. So 0 times 1 plus 4 times 0. If we move on to our second column, we're going to have 0 times 1, so 0 times 1, plus 4 times 2. And then for our third column in our second matrix, we'll have 0 times 0 plus 4 times 1. Great. So that's a little bit messy right now, but we can simplify this, and all that's a matter of is, doing the multiplication and summing for each element here. So 3 times 1 plus 2 times 0 is going to be 3. 3 times 1 plus 2 times 2 is going to be 7. 3 times 0 plus 2 times 1 is 2. 1 times 1 plus 5 times 0 is just 1. And we've got 1 times 1 plus 5 times 2, that's going to be 11. 1 times 0 plus 5 times 1, that'll be 5. 0 times 1 plus 4 times 0, well, that's just 0. And then we've got 8 and 4. So that is the result of our matrix multiplication. Oops, that's a terrible box. Try that again. There we go. It's a little better. This is our answer. Great. So before I go, I just want to remind you all that if you're looking for any additional tutoring or academic support at ASU, you can go to the Tutoring Center's website, tutoring.asu.edu, to see all of our resources. If you'd like to find tutoring services for your specific course, you can use the Tutor Search tool, which you can find on the main page here or by going to this full link. And the tutoring search service, the tutor search tool service, I guess, will allow you to find services for your specific course. So thanks so much and have a great rest of your day.